We're back, Lindsay. Sort of.
Hey, Justin. Gosh, it's been a second since we've hung out plenty of
Yeah.
times, but behind the mic, not too many times.
Yeah, we do realize it has been roughly a year since we put out our last episode. And we haven't really gotten into what, a lot of people have texted me and said, "Are you guys done? Is the podcast over?"
Yeah.
And I've always just kept saying, we're on a hiatus, we're dealing with some stuff, and we have recorded a few episodes, but we haven't released anything. But we've had a ton of discussions internally about the direction and the future of the podcast. So we're going to reveal some of that here in the intro. One of the reasons why we're back with this episode is that it's our favorite month, as you all know if you've been listeners. Halloween's coming up. We won't have another episode till 2026, but we wanted to present something for the special holiday season, and we'll be doing the rankings of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, including anything that has Freddy in it, basically, that was a movie.
Yeah. So not Freddy's Nightmares, the TV show.
Right.
It is really nice to be back with you, Justin, and we've definitely gone to movies. We've hung out. It's not like that, and it's hard to say who's invested in your personal life of what's going on behind the mic, right? But I do think that it is worthwhile to say, and Justin, you can just mute me if you want here, but we've both been going through a lot of emotional things involving, neither one of us have human children, but we've gone through a lot of emotional turmoil with losing pets, and it's weird. Justin and I, sorry, I'm going to get way too personal right now, but
it's okay.
Justin and I, for an inside joke here, we always have this weird simpatico, we change jobs at the same time, or happen to, when we do, work down the street a quarter of a mile from each other, just weird coincidences, and this is not a coincidence that I don't think either one of us wanted to have, but as many of you who have listened to 120 episodes, you might have heard a dog or two in the background huffing and puffing, or us mentioning somebody. But we've gone through a lot of heartache. We've both lost Mallory and Stan. Stan and Mallory, our dogs, have been best friends for this entire time of this podcast. And it's kind of, mirrored Justin, you and I, in a lot of ways. Back in the day, before every episode, we would go on a dog walk together, and it was not only us giving us time to kind of riff before we recorded, but also tiring the dogs out so they could hang out and be quiet and not rustle around too much while we're recording. The dogs have really been part of the podcast. So it would make sense that, late last year, as Mallory's health was declining, that it became harder and harder to continue on. And with recording the podcast, when it's just Justin and I, it is, you don't have a producer, you don't have an editor, we're doing this together. And emotional, every aspect that you could think impacts this podcast. At that time, I as Justin's friend want to do everything to support you, and not only in the supporting of going through end of life care, and then the aftermath of that is absolutely gut-wrenching. And quite unexpectedly, the same thing happened with Stan, my dog. Which was, it was almost and I'm not trying to make light of anything, but it was almost right when we were okay, we've had some months since Mallory, we're okay, let's try to get recentered, we're going to do this. And then Stan, went downhill faster than I could have ever expected. And just, God's honest truth right now, B's not doing too well either. But if anyone wants to know the reason behind why it's taken us a little bit to get back on the mic, it's been hard to kind of recenter our brains, honestly.
Yeah, and all three of those guys were with us for every single podcast recording.
Yeah.
Which is why it's been great that we did a our creative outlet was a podcast, because we could have our dogs together down here in the basement with us, and they could all relax and hang out while we got done what we wanted to get done. So it's been also tough just getting back in here without having that trio hanging out. I mean, it's been pretty brutal and sad, but you know, I'm happy that we're here. I've missed doing this with you.
Yeah, I've missed it too. It is really nice to be back. Thank you to everyone who has come back and is continuing to listen to us. We're wanting to get back into the swing of this. And, you know, that said, this time off has made us kind of reevaluate, not necessarily where we are with the podcast, but like our ability to put out quality material in a timely manner. And we have made some kind of, I don't know, big changes, actually, that you're going to be seeing in 2026.
Big changes indeed. We'll be cutting our Picks of the Week segment, as well as our beloved Murray moment.
What?
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's right.
But after 120-something Bill Murray stories, Lindsay, I feel like
I need a break.
They're and you know, the thing is too, it's like you research all that, you write all this. It is very time consuming, and you know, we're trying to get a little more focused, especially the way our lives are. We both work full-time jobs, and they're very time consuming and detail oriented jobs. So, you know, that can be exhausting. So trying to, you know, put together an episode and edit and everything takes a bit of time.
And I do want to say too that the Picks of the Week, which sometimes I feel like are some of my favorite parts of our episodes, because I love like the one-off, you know, how is this movie connected to the main feature? It's not like we're not watching those movies, and it's not like we're not going to mention those movies when talking about our main feature.
Yeah.
But with the Murray moment, it seemed like if we were going to make such a dramatic change in the format of our episodes, now was the time. Because earlier this year, in April, Justin and I had our Murray moment.
We did.
We went and saw Bill Murray and his Blood Brothers in concert at the pageant here in St. Louis, and we did the meet and greet. So we both, the pictures exist. We met Bill Murray. I'm not going to be that creepy woman who made that weird documentary where she like kind of stalked him. I didn't like that documentary at all. But I feel like this is what we needed. This was it. You know,
it was a good ender.
It was a good ender. And if we're going to do it, like right now is it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I have so many personal stories of people that I've talked to or interviewed or whatever from previous Murray moments that it has been kind of like soul enriching to go seek out those stories. And I don't think that is actually going to leave me.
Yeah.
So you're probably going to get some Bill Murray stories sprinkled in here somewhere, I hope.
Yeah, and also too, you know, when we started this podcast, we had a pretty hard rule, like we're just gonna do movies that are 20 years
this
old
rule.
or older, and that's probably still gonna be our, because those are the movies that we love the most, I think.
Yeah.
From the 70s, 80s, and 90s. But believe it or not, for two individuals having a retro type themed podcast, we watch a lot of new stuff.
Yeah.
And we never talk about it on the podcast. So I think it also, cutting some of these segments, it allows us time to just, you know, maybe even an intro, or like at the end, like if there's something we're watching that's new, that's on streaming or whatever, or we just saw in theaters, you know, having that minute to just kind of give someone an updated, you know, it's like, hey, okay, you're talking about something that I haven't actually seen that just came out in theaters or something. So, you know, there'll be opportunities for that as well. Also to do these sort of like different kind of episodes, like this ranking episode, you know, we're going to do more of this type stuff. We're still going to, you know, give you a movie we researched well, tell you how it was made, our thoughts on it, dissect it, but we're going to try out some new things as the podcast develops and the year develops. So we'll keep you updated on that, and we'll keep you updated on social media as well, of like what we're doing and directions we're going.
Yeah, we'll get back into the social media hang again. I think our absence from the podcast has also mirrored the absence from social media, which has just been like, it's just been hard, honestly, like getting back and just refocusing your brain. going through any type of loss and just like the exhaustive nature that comes along with caring for an ailing loved one for a long amount of time, like is time consuming, and you just like kind of just don't give a shit about anything. And I'm not saying I didn't give a shit about the podcast, but it's like you just like don't have it within you.
Yeah.
But we recognize also how much this podcast means. I mean, at least to me, and I know that it means a lot to you. So I love the idea of this new format, and looking forward to going. I think going with Nightmare on Elm Street ranking. It's a great introduction, and it's October, man. This is our favorite. Like, we couldn't let this month go by without celebrating Halloween.
And so to kick off these rankings, kind of how we're going to do this is we're going to start with our less, we're going to start from like, I mean, I say worst the best, but not necessarily saying worst, like, oh, this is total crap. Maybe
our least favorite.
Our least favorite to the best. And these are when I, ranking it, it's like how we like them. It's not like the quality of the film or whatever. Cause some of these are lower in my rankings, but I feel like they're like better made movies, they're a little slicker or whatever.
That's a very interesting.
But how I like them. There's 9 of these, so we'll start with number 9, and I'll say what mine is, and I'll say a little bit about why I picked it, and then we'll go to you. They may not always match up.
I'm going to be shocked if our number 9 is not the same, but I mean.
But regardless of if they match up or not, we'll try to keep our talking about them brief. You don't know what my rankings are. I don't know what yours are. So because we're doing it this style, I'm not going to put trailer clips in or anything. We might do some audio clips or something from a movie if it makes sense. But this is going to be a little more freeform, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So let's kick it off. Oh, and I'm sorry, before we get into the rankings, sorry, I forgot to mention the other reason that kind of kicked off why we were doing these rankings is we read Robert Englund will be getting his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame this month. And so that was sort of the catalyst for doing the Freddy rankings. And I got to say, too, before we start these rankings, it was fun just being focused and sitting down and watching this entire franchise in order is what I take it back, almost in order. Me and you went and saw Freddy 2 in theaters, and then I started, then I did 1, and then I went the rest in order.
I saved 1 for last because it's the one that I know the best, but I wanted to like see everything. It was so much fun going to see Freddy's Revenge in the theater with you. I'd never seen it in the theater, and seeing it with a crowd, I think with every movie is always like different.
Yeah.
But that was where I started. So I started with Freddy 2, seeing it with you, and then went on and then went back to the original. But it really has been so much fun. And I've watched this franchise from a whole different, like I haven't watched it necessarily for Freddy. It's been like, this is the series of movies and watching how it progresses.
Yeah.
Which has been a whole other thing that I've honestly never done before. And as a Nightmare on Elm Street fan, I can't believe I've never done that before.
And I also wanted to add, we watched, as well as all the movies, we also watched the 4-hour Never Sleep Again documentary.
Was that your first time? I've seen it before.
It was the first time I'd seen it since it came out streaming. And then so I'd forgotten a lot. And then we also watched the Robert Englund documentary that was out, which is pretty good. It's a lot of talking heads, but overall, it's good. Yeah,
all of it I think is like, you could take endless amounts of notes on it.
Here we go. My number 9 was the 2010 Nightmare on Elm Street remake. I hadn't seen it, honestly, ever. Ever. I thought that
Did I know that?
I don't know. Because I thought that I had, and maybe I had only seen trailers, because I started watching it and I was like, if I've seen this, I remember nothing about it.
Wow.
And it was the last one that I watched. And
yeah, that's a deep breath.
It was
on that one.
It's kind of strange because it like barely feels like a movie. And
in general,
and then it also too, it's kind of like, I guess maybe it was trying to do a little bit of its own thing, but it felt so like soulless. I thought the makeup and stuff, I just thought Freddy looked kind of terrible, and you really feel the lack of Robert Englund's presence portraying Freddy. A different actor portrayed him for the 2010 Jackie Earle Haley, who is a great actor, but just, I don't know, he was doing his own thing, but it just didn't feel like Freddy. I also had to remind myself that the early 2000s, like 2003 to 2013, that decade was the decade of like, we're going to take every horror film that was made in the 70s and 80s, and we're going to just do like, get a music video, high-end music video director to come in and direct it, and we're going to give it like a really shiny budget. And what's crazy is like most of these remakes made more in theaters than like the entire franchise of these movies that they remade, which is kind of sad, really. But
I mean, it says a lot about the longevity of the interest of a franchise.
Yeah.
But it is like a bummer when it's like, oh, that was a wah wah.
And I get, and the thing is like this movie was successful. I don't know how many people who saw it young in theaters, like that were, you know, how like when I was watching the Freddy movies when I was a kid, like if people were kids and this was the first one that they saw, are they going back to this movie? I don't know. You know what I mean? And I don't know how you watch a remake and then you go back and
I'm going to say no.
You watch these 80s ones. I don't know. But anyway, that was my number 9.
I'm going to say no because this was also my number 9. This remake I definitely went and saw in theaters, and I was upset. I mean, there are a couple big things about it that I don't appreciate. I think the first thing people go to is like the acting's bad or something like that. It has nothing to do with any of the actors in it, honestly. When I watch it with Rooney Mara, I'm like, you know what? I'll watch anything with Rooney Mara. Totally. She's not bad in it necessarily. It is the fault of the trying to take the skeleton of the original and remake it into something like a bastardization, honestly, of trying to extrapolate stuff that shouldn't have been from the first one. The greatest things about the whole Freddy franchise and watching all of this like recently, I can say definitively, and also knowing at the beginning what the original intention with Freddy Krueger was. He was a child killer. And yes, at the very, 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 very first incarnation, yes, there was talk of him being a child molester, but it was quickly squashed when the original script was written, because it's like, yeah, you know what? No one can really get behind a child molester for any reason. And honestly, no one wants to watch a child molester. And here's the thing about the 2010 version is that not only do they not commit to either child killer or child molester, they just make you wonder if that's what they're talking about, because they never actually say that Nancy was molested. They never actually say if Quentin was. They never say if Freddy touched them inappropriately. It is all innuendo. I don't want Freddy to be child molester. He's fine as a child killer. He's already violating them in their dreams, which is the worst that you could imagine. We don't need him to be that next level of evil, because no one wants to watch a movie about a child molester. And so I think this 2010 version, that if you're going to go there, they didn't go fully there. So I think it's even more of a wiener way to just kind of like not do anything about it. And that's just like plot wise. Aesthetically, it suffered from the same thing that happened with the Fright Night remake, which was, I need to watch that movie in complete darkness. I can't even see anything. It's so dark. I don't know what is, I don't really know what the vision of it is necessarily. It feels like it is a bunch of things kind of thrown together with the, I don't know, someone who watched the original a couple months ago and then like tried to put it together. This is not the fault, again, actors, crew, people that made this movie. You made a movie more than I could ever do. But as far as the Freddy franchise, I tried to pretend this movie would never existed. And aside from the Fright Night remake, you won't really hear me say that about too many other movies. So I guess we have a really strong opinion on our number 9.
Yeah. Well, number 8. My number 8 is Freddy vs. Jason. So this is a movie I did see in theaters, and at the time, I saw this in theaters. I think I liked it a lot more when I saw it in theaters when this came out, simply because of the hype. You know, this had been teased for years and years and years. Oh, they're going to have Freddy versus Jason. And I hadn't seen it since I saw it in theaters, since it came out. Man, this movie just feels like a total mess. And it doesn't feel like a Jason movie or a Freddy movie. They somehow managed to make it feel like neither of these. And the more you read about this movie, it's like it took like a decade to develop. There was like 50 writers, like 15 scripts. It's like the fact that this was where it landed is just kind of crazy. This is the movie. You know, there's moments in it. I mean, it's kind of like high octane action. Which is why it doesn't feel like neither of these. They hired a director who hadn't seen either of the franchises and just sort of was like, I'm going to make this sort of like really shiny, glossy version of these two characters. They did bring Robert Englund back for this one, which is admirable, but he feels like the least Freddy in this movie to me. And it just feels, when you're watching this movie, you're just kind of waiting for the showdown. Like it really starts getting long in the tooth, and you're just like, where's the battle? That's what we're waiting on. And the battle is the best part of the movie, but in the end, it's wild to me. This is the highest grossing of both franchises. I will say this though, this movie has a lot of defenders. It has a lot of fans. People still love this movie. And, I don't think it's absolutely terrible. I mean, it is fun to watch these two titans of like franchise horror go at it. But overall, like leading up to it, it just felt very empty. And I just didn't feel like, I don't know. It just felt like a mishmash. It just felt like kind of a mess of a movie.
I think that's the best way to say it. Like, right as you said that, I circled, like kind of my end thought is fun, crowd pleasing, but undeniably messy. It is, at a certain age, this is a fun movie to go see in the theater, especially if you don't care about the Friday the 13th series or the Freddy series. Fine, go see it as it is. There are some things that I guess I should say what my number 8 was.
What is your number 8?
My number 8 is Freddy versus Jason.
Oh, 2 for 2.
I know, right? Sorry, I should have led with that. But I will say that one thing I do like about it, the thing that's always bothered me about Jason Voorhees in particular, is how does this dude keep coming back? I mean, for real. Freddy, we can make up any rule we want. But in this, it really does play on, we need fear in order to bring Freddy back to subconsciousness and then ultimately to reality. I do love that how Jason's brought back is Freddy's innate ability to manipulate someone. But I do appreciate that Freddy, in a dream sequence with Jason, Freddy impersonates Jason's mother. And I mean, if Freddy's one thing, it's manipulative. And I think that idea stays throughout the entire series. If we're talking about these two battling by their stature, even with knives or a machete, I mean, Freddy's going to go down. It's no wonder he is a disembodied head at the end of the movie. But I ask you, Justin, who won Freddy versus Jason? Like, who came out on top? Was it a draw?
Neither one of these characters can technically be killed.
Okay,
so I
you're
mean,
right.
if we're going by like sheer, like, like how they would do in like a boxing match or something, like tit for tat, who came out on top? I mean, Jason's walking away with Freddy's head. I mean, Freddy gives a little wink, but
ultimately he's still bodiless. I think that Freddy versus Jason has some things that, as a standalone movie, as a pure popcorn flick, fine. I will watch it again. I don't appreciate the faggot line, but at the same time, there's like the dark meat line that said that's innately racist as well. So it's there are some problematic things, but I do think it is crowd pleasing. learning that one of the characters was supposed to be played by Brad Renfro, but his drug addiction at the time prohibited him from, I think he had filmed some scenes, and his drug problem had gotten him kicked off the movie. That I can't watch that movie now knowing that without seeing Brad Renfro. I like that fear is the fuel behind this entire movie, but I am not scared whatsoever. I don't think of this as it is a horror movie, sure, because it fits in, but is it scary? No. And it relies completely upon jump scares and cheap jump scares. Like you're waiting for them because, like you said, Justin, like it's action packed. It's hit after hit, and you're just like, it doesn't give you time to breathe to be surprised again because you're just going to get hit again. So entertaining, yes. Very low on the totem pole of Freddy movies, 1000%.
All right, my number 7 is Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, The Dream Child. I like what they tried to do with this movie. It is a much darker film. It's much more aesthetically, it feels like a different movie. It's directed by Stephen Hopkins, who directed a really good, bad movie that I loved from the 90s, Judgment Night. And he's a solid director.
That was a pick of the week, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. What I didn't understand was it's like they tried to connect this so hard to Part 4 in the first half of the movie, and then the second half, it gets bogged down because they're trying to tie in all the stuff with the kid, and is it Freddy's spawn and all this stuff, and then they sort of redo what they did in 4 with the souls, Freddy's body. I just felt like it was a push and pull. It's like, we want this to be a continuation of 4, but at the same time, we want it to be this different kind of Freddy movie. And I felt like they tried to get more serious with it. It wasn't as fun, considering I feel like Part 4 is like one of the more fun versions of Freddy Krueger. And then I felt this one was like just on the opposite end of the scale. So, and when you watch them back to back, you really notice it. Like if you're kind of cherry picking the franchise and like, I'll watch 5 next year or something. But when you watch it back to back as a continuation of Part 4, it feels like there's 2 different movies going on and they're fighting each other. I do like the continuation of the Alice character played by Lisa Wilcox. She's one of the strong points of the movie, though I got to tell you, I hadn't seen this movie in a while. When it opens, I was like, what is happening? It's like this weird
sex scene,
strangely lit like sex scene that's like, you're seeing like torsos and like sweat, and it's
watching Silk Stockings?
It's like I was expecting like a Sade song to be playing over it. I mean, it's a very odd opening, but I do, I like that they were, it's like, hey, let's try something, let's go a little bit darker with this. Freddy's been kind of getting light, and cracking jokes and stuff. But overall, I also felt like it was a retread of Part 4 in a way of like, here's what this character's about. She is a model, and then we're going to have him kill her by forcing her food. And this guy's got a motorcycle, or this guy's like a cartoon artist. And, it's, to me, it just felt like we're going to give you a retread of 4, and then we're going to try to then make a left turn. And I don't know, again, I just felt like the 2 stories were fighting each other, and I felt very disinterested. Like when it ended, I was just kind of like, oh, all right, on to Part 6.
So, Justin, I really thought here is where we would branch off. But my number 7 is also Part 5.
This is getting crazy.
I know. And we, honestly, you guys, we did not plan this. And this is, so Dream Child, my friend Brett, he said that this is like one of his favorite, like up towards the top of the franchise. Yeah. Brett loves Dream Child. And I rewatched it after he said that with that in mind. And yes, it's still lower on the totem pole, but I do give this one credit for the serious tone that it has. And I mean, there's so few times in the series that we explore ideas of like abortion, adoption, teen parenting. Like, this is a very female centered Freddy movie, like motherhood and pregnancy. And even though like that is attributed to executive producer Sarah Risher, who said, you know, I feel like I take a little bit of responsibility for, I was a new mother and like I was really putting my influence on this. I feel like she puts a negative spin on that this was my fault. However you feel about this one, I do think that it was a really interesting entry into this canon. It's controversial in the sense that, you know, Freddy's pushed into fatherhood. We're never going to have this serious of Freddy that's within this dream world again. And as far as like kills go,
pretty gnarly. Yeah.
I mean, I you know, shoot, I really should have like done my favorite like dream kills, because like the force feeding is really gnarly, and not
It's
only
something.
not only the force feeding, but like you have in that scene body dysmorphic disorder brought up.
Yeah.
And then right after you have the force feeding, you have this crazy claymation where Alice opens the refrigerator and sees her like bloated friend and Freddy jerk her back in. Like, it's so good.
When it has this very like Texas Chainsaw Massacre family dinner unsettling scene of like, you know, horrible things happen to someone while everyone else is just like, it's entertainment for them. They're like laughing and they think it's hilarious and fun.
And it makes you also remember too that Freddy can influence, and even though it's in your dream, that has influence over the entire situation that you're in. So I think that this has a good, it has a very visceral feeling to it. The ending, while I don't completely like understand like everything about it, where Alice and Freddy like morph into like one being, it's so weird. And like the face morphing, everything about it is, I can't stop watching it. So, you know, I'm saying like this sounds like it should be higher, but I am placing it at number 7. I do also like that Yvonne Kelly-Jo Minter is one black actor of this time that survives a horror movie. So that's nice. It didn't have the same feeling for Kincaid. You know, another thing that I realized in thinking about that, and you can't help but think about when you look like on horror movies, and especially like in 2025, and thinking about casting in like the 80s, and this is an aside, but like Freddy, all of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies really did kind of mix it up as far as casting. Like, while, yeah, sure, okay, predominantly white, we always had somebody of like a like that wasn't, you know, that was thrown in there, and it wasn't there wasn't anything aside from what I said, the dark meat thing later on, which is a movie that's adjacent from this. I don't think that there was really anything like race-based that I remember, and that was another thing that along with Freddy compared to Jason, not relying on like boobs or anything like that, Nightmare on Elm Street really stands out as far as like being different from other horror movies. Justin, what is your number 6?
My number 6 is Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge. Hadn't seen this movie in forever till we saw it in theaters. I gotta say, like, in my mind, this movie was better. I don't dislike this movie. I feel like this was a movie that just feels very rushed. Nightmare on Elm Street, I feel like, is this very original take, original villain. And Part 2 feels like they're doing like a body possession movie, but they don't quite commit to it. They throw in all this other weird stuff, and it also too, like, they sort of like break all the rules that were created in the first one. You know, it's just like, wait, Freddy's real? This is really happening, or is this a dream? I don't know anymore. They're just like merging. I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 had a bigger budget, but it looks cheaper in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like some things just felt like undone. They were just like, we have to get this out. And so some of the makeup stuff, like Freddy doesn't look as good. Like some of the creature like effects and stuff that they have, like, they just stick out. You know, it's like and again, it's like, I know these are low budget movies, and I'm much more forgiving of practical effects, even if they look kind of rough, but they look pretty rough in some of these. And it kind of took me out. I was like, whoa, man, that looks, they're just like, we have to, it just felt like they were like, it doesn't matter. We got to get it out. And even the family stuff feels very odd. It just, it's like, I couldn't tell if this is supposed to be like weird, bad, funny, or like what's going on. Is this supposed to be like a real take on parents? There was a lot of stuff going on in the movie that just felt like whatever. And you could totally tell like Wes Craven was just not a part of this. It feels so opposite of the first film, other than them trying to redo something from the first movie. I admire a lot of what's going on in the movie. Like it seemed like it was like forward thinking. This movie has had a resurgence in popularity. I actually do feel like there's a couple things in it that are a little bit scarier than the first one. There are a few scenes, and certainly Freddy like busting out of the body is a great scene.
Pretty shocking.
Lastly, I do think this was like one of the few, one of like maybe like part 1, part 2, and part 5 where Freddy is not like being a goofball. He still feels like sinister. It doesn't, when I watch this one, it still feels like, oh, we're watching like a 100% like a horror movie. This isn't like a veering into subgenre of comedy or like slapstick.
So I'm wearing Nightmare on Elm Street shirt right now, and Freddy's name is spelled incorrectly. So I wonder who made this shirt, because it is like a professionally made shirt. But isn't this a very Nightmare on Elm Street 2 Freddy?
It is, the sunken face.
Like
yeah.
Sunken face. Like Freddy looks.
He looks like he aged like 25 years from part 1 to part 2.
What's interesting too about that is that I mean, the guy that took over doing effects for 2 had nothing to go on from the original. Like, there were barely any drawings. There were definitely no molds or casts or anything. So like the reinvention of Freddy, it makes a lot of sense that he looks way creepier in 2 to me. But this is where we split off, Justin.
All right.
My number 6 is part 4, Dream Master. So it's not that I really went back and forth between part 4 and part 5 because I like Alice. I get why Alice needs to look so Amish in part 4, that we build her up to be the hero by the end of the movie. I get it. There are some aspects that I really like about it. I like that Joey and Kincaid come back from Dream Warriors, but that are quickly killed off. There are, again, with everything, this is also when Freddy really comes in with a lot of lines that would make him such a pop culture icon. We've got, what a suck face, like it's so good. The asthma attack is really intense and really sad. The how sweet fresh meat, like there's so many things that work as far as quotes. I love the little in jokes with, like when Alice is having the dream sequence and she's working at the Crave Inn, as in the Wes Craven.
I don't get it.
You don't get it? Yeah, okay. There's also, you see on a marquee before an awesome sequence, honestly, where she walks into the theater and you see that Reefer Madness is playing on the theater. Well, Reefer Madness was bought by New Line Cinema very early on. It was one of Bob Shaye's, like, I think it was like his first purchase or something. So like cute in jokes like that. That sequence where she gets drawn into, goes from like, 2D to going into the screen. I love that sequence. I think it looks really cool. As far as memorable moments, like, man, this is the standout. I've referenced this as recently as today. Honestly, the meatballs on a Domino's pizza, hilarious, disgusting. I love it. The Debbie death sequence. Can we talk about that for a second? Because not only does Debbie get turned into a cockroach, then she has her like arms ripped off during a weightlifting sequence, and then it's Freddy squishes her in a roach motel. I mean, they really tripled down on the death of Debbie. There are a lot of inside gags and a lot of great moments. I don't even mind the dojo death scene that was supposedly, cheap. As far as familial support, he's a really good example, like one of the first good examples of someone in your family who's kind of supportive of, you're like, I'm having fucked up dreams and no one believes me. Granted, he doesn't totally believe his sister in the beginning, but he soon comes to. And in a franchise that is from the get-go based on parents not believing their kids and children paying for the sins of their parents, that we do finally have a character that's like supportive of another family member. I do appreciate that. But still, part 4, Dream Master, comes in as my number 6.
Well, we've parted ways here.
Finally. God.
Yeah. We're not the same person. Okay, my number 5 is Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
I'm shocked, but okay. I want to hear.
Here's the thing. Now, as I was doing this, like I had an idea of like what my favorites were, and as I sat down and started watching these, my ideals of the franchise changed a little bit as I was going through these. And I used to like New Nightmare. It would have been much higher up on my list, but watching these from start to finish, like in order, New Nightmare, as creative as I think it is, and I appreciate the fact that they're doing something a little bit different. I am strapped in for the first 30 minutes of that movie. I love the characters playing themselves. Bob Shaye's in there. We're at New Line Cinema. And just knowing about all the makings of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, how they were made, all that insider stuff was great. Then when it starts veering off into sort of a Freddy movie, I would have loved them to like maybe just have that be the third act of like Freddy coming to life and have there be a full on hour of more of the insider stuff. It's sort of like, to me, like as soon as Robert Englund and Nancy do she goes to see him and he's on the Tonight Talk show as himself, and then he does the Freddy bit, and then she goes to visit Wes Craven at his house. It was going in two different directions. I really like the movie. I think it works. I mean, I think for what it's doing, and for when it came out, it was like super meta. No other movies are doing it. It's like Scream comes out 2 years later. No one credits New Nightmare. Like at that time when Scream came out, people were acting like this was the first time anyone's ever referenced a horror movie in a horror movie ever.
And it's like this is Scream 3.
It's like the same
basically.
director. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And so I love all that about it. I love that Wes Craven came back. I love that he was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do something totally different, which I appreciate. But at the same time, the Freddy in this doesn't feel like Freddy, and that's what kills it for me. That's what brought it down a little bit. That's what does it for me. It's like he's this weird, buffed
different.
out, strange. I mean, it's not Freddy Krueger. And I get it. They didn't want to use the same Freddy Krueger because they can't. It almost felt like it was like an animated version. Not like he's cartoony and silly, but like it felt like a digital version of Freddy. It didn't feel like a real being. And I think that was kind of the point. It's supposed to be this otherworldly supernatural thing, but to me, I don't know, it just didn't hit me as hard as like I didn't feel like I was watching a Freddy movie as much as I did everything else. And again, watching it in the order of this franchise, I would give it a higher ranking for creativity overall as a movie. I still like this movie. I'd watch it any day of the week, but it got bumped a little bit further down on my rankings than I thought that it would when I started this thing.
That's really interesting. You're going to have to wait on my thoughts for New Nightmare because it is not my number 5.
Oh.
And this might be an upset, and it might get people to hate me
now.
My number 5 is part 3.
Oh my God.
Dream Warriors. I know. I knew that I was going to get hate for this one.
Oh my God.
So here's the thing about Dream Warriors.
Wait, what number are we on?
We're on number 5.
Number 5.
You're like, can we even be friends anymore?
I just have to like look at what's left here. You're making me look at what's left here. Okay.
Wait, what have you said now?
I'm not hating.
Hold on.
I'm not hating.
Okay. There are, again, plenty of things that, I love Dream Warriors. It's not the creativity. It's not for, if anything, I love the institutional setting. I love that Nancy comes back. There are so many effects that I love in it. The you do feel like a true bond among all of the kids in the institution. Patricia Arquette, yes, I get it. I get everything that works with this. When Nancy dies at the end, I honestly like teared up as Patricia Arquette's holding her and saying like, I'm gonna dream you back into a better reality, or whatever she says. Like, it is honestly sad. It's devastating to know Nancy dies. It's also the beginning of like, at this point, this is what went into 4, where he's like a pop culture icon, but this is like where it kind of started, where he like kills Zsa Zsa Gabor on TV and does the whole welcome to prime time bitch like routine. Like, it's great. All right, Jennifer, your big break into TV. Like, so good. Like, there are brilliant moments. What makes it hard for me to put it at number 5 is the visual effects. I don't even know where to start with that. Like the Freddy snake worm eating Patricia Arquette, the marionette with the tendons from the arms. It's painful to watch. The anti-drug statement with Tyrion and the hypodermic needles. There are so many things that are really great. For some reason, it serves as a building block for the rest of the franchise for me. It's almost like you could get rid of 2 and go from 1 to 3 and then skip 4 and 5 and then go right to 6. It serves as a building block. It deepens the idea of like Freddy's origins and the rules of dream logic and powers. I love that kids are emboldened by their inner strengths and powers, especially when they're institutionalized and are kept at bay with Hypnosil. Which, can we talk about Hypnosil? Like, are we pro Hypnosil? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? We suppress our dreams, but then are we ignoring what's going on? Are we ignoring the horror?
I think you could make that case for a lot of drugs. Suppressing thoughts, feelings.
It's very true. Well, the drugs I'm on make me able to deal with difficult people. This is where, though, the music really kicks in for the franchise. We have Dream Warriors by Dokken, and then it's really where that idea continues on. So I think Dream Warriors is the beginning of Freddy and Nightmare on Elm Street changing forever. It's still rewatchability. It's still gonna be at number 5. I'm so sorry, Justin.
I mean, you don't have to apologize. I like that we're doing this because I'm shocked, but I'm in a good way, because I didn't realize that things were going to go the way they're going. But that's okay. I'm going to get a lot of hate for New Nightmare being number 5. So
5, 4, and 3 were really hard for me. I'm just gonna say.
On to number 4. It's getting real. So I'm going to openly admit my number 4. Nostalgia hasn't played a factor into too many of my choices as much as it does for my number 4 pick, and that's Freddy's Dead.
Okay.
I saw Freddy's Dead in the theater. It was the first time I had seen a Freddy movie in the theater, and I grew up on Freddy, so it was a very exciting moment for me. I'm also a sucker for 3D. Like, I'm one of those people, it's just like, oh, it's crappy 3D. Oh, you're wearing crappy glasses. Great. I can't wait. I cannot wait. There's a 3D sequence in this movie, and they gave us the 3D glasses. And I remember, like, they're like, the whole movie's not in 3D. It's like, oh, I get it. I understand.
It's
they're
2
gonna
minutes.
Let me know.
I got it.
And she puts on the glasses, and then we're all putting on the glasses in the theater.
Brilliant.
I loved it. It is a wacky movie, but to me, it feels the most like we're now in Freddy's just world. Like, the entire movie feels like you're inside some sort of weird dream. But there's really no moments in the movie, hardly at all, that feel like we're in any sort of grounded reality anymore. Freddy at this point is just like off the rails. I mean, he's just like he's only speaking in like goofball language, and just tormenting people. He's not even trying to like slowly hunt anybody. He's just like, I'm just messing with people left and right. Remember Dream Warriors, where they had a reason for being in there? We're going to kind of do that a little bit. So we'll rip that off. we're just going to rip off like little bits of all the good parts of some of these movies and put them in a blender. And then we're going to have some cameos like bringing back Johnny Depp. I love the Alice Cooper cameo. To me, this is just like a whirlwind of a strange Freddy movie, but it feels very Freddy. Even Robert Englund at this point is just like, I'm just having a blast here. This movie felt like a answer to Part 5 because Part 5 was so serious and people were like, oh, that's a darker Freddy, and it didn't make as much money. And so they were like, let's give the people what they want, do Freddy on full blast. And I think this movie is really fun. I mean, I know the first 20 minutes or so, it takes a minute, you're kind of like, what the hell is going on? But overall, I think this movie visually is kind of like strange. This movie feels like it has the biggest budget of all of them as far as like creativity goes. Like it feels like they were like, let's create some strange new worlds, and it's also kind of a mess, but at the same time I like the mess that I'm in when I'm watching this movie. I also felt like they were getting back to like a more fun Freddy, which to be honest, like I think I like that Freddy a little bit more than I do the super serious Freddy.
I can't wait to talk about Freddy's Dead, but it is not my number 4. I know. I honestly love talking about Freddy's Dead. It's so much fun. My number 4 is probably of no surprise if you know me. It is Part 2, Freddy's Revenge. Easily not the most aesthetically pleasing. It kind of does feel like a bunch of scenes thrown together, but the thing that I like about it is that above every Freddy movie, New Nightmare, I'm isolating Freddy vs. Jason in the remake, everything New Nightmare and before, it is the one that stands out the most for a lot of reasons. I really wonder if under the helm of other folks, maybe another director, I don't get the best vibe from that Jack Shoulder dude, but I just wonder if it hadn't been so rushed and they hadn't been like, whoa, we've really got something, let's go with it. And then gone with total people from the inside of New Line and just were like, let's work with what we got. Let's go cheap. Let's do this and just completely negate what came before. The plot as it is been a better movie. But as it stands, what it turned into, I think is, I'm one of those people in the camp of thinking that it is one of the most standout of cult horror movies because of the gay undertones. That's not I'm not reinventing the wheel by bringing that out, but seeing it on the big screen was another kind of slap in the face of how gay this movie is. Not only was the writer gay, but Mark Patton, the lead actor, is gay, production designer is gay. There were so many things in watching this that it makes it, in a way, kind of meta in the sense of New Nightmare, is that now maybe it wasn't the best produced at the time it came out, but now, years later, we revisiting this and watching it with a whole new audience, for a whole new reason. It's still entertaining to me that the fact that we have he's not even effeminate, but just that we have a male final girl with the girliest scream of anyone in the Nightmare on Elm Street series. I'm gonna solidly put this at number 4, because not only do we have him as the final girl, we also have the role reversal of the person who saves him is Lisa, played by Kim Myers, his girlfriend. She's the hero at the end. She's the one who looks like Meryl Streep. You might, I really would hope everyone who's listening to this has seen number 2, but I will say that the pool scene where Freddy comes out of dreams and is in reality breaks every wall that we know, but we only have the first Nightmare on Elm Street to go from. If you were to put number 2, if you were to put that sequence 4 movies later, totally fine. But the chess sequence, I love that special effect. I love Jesse's stupid dance. I just love so much about this and appreciate that not even innuendos, but just that this is like that we can go back and rewatch the follow up to the amazing first one and rewatch it with a whole new understanding.
I do think it has the best opening sequence of all the Nightmare movies.
It's also it is really good. And it keeps going too, like with the bus teetering on that thing, absolutely terrifying. It's also, for me, the last time that Freddy's scary in the rest of the franchise. Well, New Nightmare, he's pretty scary. I mean, Jesse's like, he's not only is it a, gay metaphor of, trying to stop this thing who you really are from coming out, but in this case, it's Freddy from popping out from within you. It is horrifying, and it's body horror at its most primitive and probably at its gayest. I don't know. I love part 4, and crucify me if you want for putting it before Dream Warriors, but Mark Patton, Jesse, give me that dance. That coach getting the butt with the towel in the shower. Bob Shea at the leather bar. Come on. There's so many good gayisms in this movie.
And I think we should add, too, if you haven't seen Mark Patton, the documentary on Mark Patton called Scream Queen.
So good.
Really, it's really good. And it does shine like, I think, a different perspective on Freddy's revenge. I mean, some of it is kind of depressing, that documentary, because it sort of seemed like it really affected his career in a negative way. It does give you a new perspective on that movie, outside of kind of what they talked about in the Never Sleep Again long 4-hour documentary.
Yeah.
We're getting down to the top 3 here. So my number 3, Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master.
All right.
So for starters, outside of the recasting of Patricia Arquette, which I do think hurts this movie a lot. I tried to find it and I couldn't find the circumstances. Like, did they not pay her enough money? Did she just not want to do the sequel? But recasting her makes, especially when you're watching these back to back, which I did, it's very odd.
Yeah, you really have to settle into, okay, this is Patricia Arquette.
And personally, because they do away with her character and they also do away with the other 2 characters from part 3, Joey and Kincaid, so quickly, it feels like why even do that? Like, because you're just waiting for them to die so they can move on to the Alice character sort of growing and becoming a stronger character, which is what I like the most out of Dream Master, is that we have this character who's like very meek and very shy, and you kind of like don't really think much of her. And then I like this sort of new element of the franchise where like she's able to obtain all the different powers. They borrowed a little bit from part 3, except for she's obtaining all her friends who died powers. And to me, that made a more interesting way to defeat Freddy. I also thought that the kills in this were the most creative. You could tell that they really spent some time in making the kills not just gory, but like they look very big. It's especially the meatball, the poking the meatball is
meatball's good.
It's just and to me, it's like this is like elevated Freddy. It's like to me, this one feels like the most Robert Englund having the most presence of all the movies, because he's doing all the movements and stuff that he does in the other ones, but they're really giving him a lot of dialogue. I feel like outside of all the other movies, this group of characters feel like they would hang out for real. Like in the other movies, I just feel like, even in the first Nightmare on Elm Street, it's like, I guess so, because it's small, there's only 4 of them. But this one, I do like the way they introduce the characters quickly, and then you find the elements of what they fear, and it's like fearing of bugs, and then she kills a bug in the movie and then gets turned into a bug and crushed. And I like the callback, and the same thing with the asthma, and then Freddy sucks all her air out of her body. Just a great callback to the beginning of the movie where you're kind of seeing like what their fears are. Then you mentioned the karate sequence when it's just like he didn't really have a fear or something that he didn't like, but it's like, he practices karate.
Yeah.
I don't mind that sequence, the floating glove.
I liked it.
Not bad.
I like it.
At this point, it's like they didn't go back and be like, oh, you had a dream about this guy? I had a dream about this guy too. Because they were kind of trying to figure out who Freddy is. It's just like they sort of accelerated the story in this one and kind of just like, they bring us in and like, okay, bringing Freddy back by having a dog urinate on
I forgot to say that
in a junkyard is just like,
what?
I mean, it is just sort of like, all right, and when it happens in a movie, you're just like, yeah, this dog just shoots, he's just peeing fire, and it opens up hell, I guess, and Freddy is reawakened, and it's like, hey, why not? But what's surprising the most about this is the soundtrack. I mean, this has the best. I'm not just talking about the score that they use for, they've used throughout the movies, but the actual like songs. Like, and I felt like part 3, I appreciate Dawkins, Dream Warriors,
totally.
But this one,
this is
when you go back, you listen to this, it's like
it's so good.
Tuesday Night, The Angels, Dramarama, Go West, Billy Idol, Blondie, Sinead O'Connor. And then we even got the Fat Boys doing "Are You Ready for Freddy?" Not the best song, but like, the Fat Boys were a thing in the 80s. You had to put them, they were perfect for this kind of movie.
I've had Tuesday nights running with this nightmare going through my head for quite a long time now. It's so catchy, but yeah, this soundtrack easily like the best of the series.
But overall, this one to me feels the most confidently directed as well. Like, it just felt like
some Rennie Harlan.
Yeah, and Rennie Harlan, who went on to, this kind of made his career, went on to do Die Hard 2 and Cutthroat Island and Last Kiss Goodnight.
Long Kiss Goodnight?
Or Long Kiss Goodnight, yeah. Not all great movies, but like, he definitely, I felt like this felt like they were trying to go beyond, like, this is a low budget horror movie, like, let's make these dream sequences even more creative and atmospheric.
It does really feel like, while the dream sequences in Dream Warriors like were awesome and like appropriate and expertly done, it does feel like in 4 they just like, it goes a little bonkers.
Yeah.
It makes it fun for especially a movie where it feels like Alice is kind of Nancy from the beginning when we have Tina that dies. That's who brings us into the first one, and the same thing happens in 4.
And this one too is the first Freddy movie that feels the less confined. Like, and all the other ones are like in rooms together. So it feels very like. True. Claustrophobic, and like they're here and they're talking and they're here and they're in a bedroom and they're in a hallway. This one felt like it opened it up a little bit more, and it felt like, it felt like a bigger movie. Like, they gave the actors more to do. There's more action. I just feel like at this point, Robert Englund had the Freddy character dialed into like, here's what I want it to be. We're having fun.
Totally. So my number 3 was actually surprised me. I didn't really remember this one in depth at all, only like pieces and parts. It just wasn't one that I revisited, and that is part 6, Freddy's Dead. I think that at this point, the idea of Nightmare on Elm Street being completely bonkers, anything is possible, it's scary, it's funny, it's creative, it's just like throwing anything at the wall and seeing what happens, but it's like done well. I think it is why this movie is just like, well, just sit back and watch what happens, because I honestly have no idea what's going to happen. I do agree with you that while we have like a group of kids that are supposed to be bonded together, it doesn't feel as close as Dream Warriors or even Dream Master, but I'm kind of not really in it for that necessarily. Sure, I'm interested in those characters. What I completely forgot about was the absolute misdirection that you're set up with thinking, we revisit the idea of Freddy being a father, Freddy having a kid, and that sort of thing, setting it up to thinking that he has a son and it doesn't end up being his son. I completely forgot about that, and call me crazy for forgetting who his child was, but honestly, I was like, oh man, that's a great misdirection. The cameos feel very of the time of late 80s, early 90s. I mean, the Johnny Depp thing alone is worth the revisit. I think while it is one of the most wild entries into Nightmare on Elm Street, it still revisits these same ideas of like generational trauma and child abuse. We go more into Freddy's origin, and I don't think that it makes an excuse for Freddy Krueger being like the person that he ended up being. I think I'm interested in that and how that plays out in the film. And obviously that goes into the Alice Cooper cameo that you mentioned. I think that while it deepens the mythology or understanding of Freddy Krueger, which we don't need like that much of, but every time you get a little nugget more, you're like, oh, okay, I got it. And you know how we get nuggets pretty much since like 4 and on. I like little pieces of learning about Freddy Krueger versus the remake in 2010, where we like have this whole backstory about him being the gardener and like, no, I don't want like a whole thing. I like pieces because it adds to the whole. Like if we're continuing this series on, it does make it more where Freddy is, while he's the nightmare that's continuing all of this, the main characters that keep this going are the kids that are involved. Do you think, Justin, are you re-traumatized every time they say that Amanda Krueger was raped by 100 maniacs? Every time it comes up, I'm like, God damn, that's like the worst thing. That Freddy Krueger is the bastard son of 100 maniacs that raped his mother. What? That is one of the worst. Who was like, you know what? I got it. This is how we're going to like really mess with the audience. As far as like death sequences, the Power Glove thing, I mean, not only does it, play into some humor, Breckenmeyer playing Spencer, going into the video game, the hearing aid sequence is also like, man, not only playing on our deepest fears of what a Q-tip can do, but also like an amplified tinnitus in your ears, and the scratching of the chalkboard that's been throughout the entire series, and then ending it with the crescendo of "nice hearing from you, Carlos." Like, I think it is the best example in the franchise of blending horror and comedy, and everything that Freddy became is Freddy's dead. I mean, isn't it right in the beginning where he's, I'll get you and your soul like, too,
right off the bat, like we're
as the Wicked Witch of the West. What? So, coming in number 3, part 6, Freddy's dead for me.
And you make a really good point. It's like, it's great that we get a little more origin story from Freddy. And because it is such a kind of horrible,
it's awful
child abuse, it's like, it kind of fits in better with all the silliness going on because it's so bleak. But at the same time, again, I don't need 90 minutes of traumatized child turns into a child killer when he grows up. Little 5-minute sequence with Alice Cooper playing his dad works great.
And also, like, not that one is better than the other, but I'm more accepting of seeing like a kid become a, child killer because his father beat him and stuff, rather than I am any story about a child molester. And I don't care. Yeah. I don't care about their origin, whatever. It's just like it puts such a taint on it that's just not good.
Yeah.
So even though, I mean, not that a child killer is any better, but I think Alice Cooper makes it a little easier pill to swallow too.
And they can say child killer all they want, but we both know after listening to thousands of true crime series, they're doing more than killing these kids.
I mean, he's tormenting them, sure.
Yeah. We won't get it, but you know what I mean.
I mean, do I? They don't, they don't really ever say like, what did that is one thing we don't ever talk about. He's a child killer. What did he do? Did he kidnap them? We know that like like, aside from the 2010, where they do come up with, like, this was Freddy's job and this is what he did. This is just like, he rounded up some kids and killed them, and the parents were like, we're gonna get you with pitchforks. But we don't really have, like, a Freddy's lair. He was in the boiler room.
Right.
When what's
also,
the boiler room?
Well, also, it's, I mean, if you're getting into logic, it's like, it's like he killed kids when he was, a human form, and now that he's supernatural and like can like really scare people, he's like not going after kids anymore. He's going after teenagers. But again, it's like if he was killing like 8-year-olds, I mean, the movie would have not, no one would have, they'd be like, the movie wouldn't have been a success.
This is why I make
there wouldn't be a franchise.
This is why I make the argument that he's not a pedophile. He's just like a weird killer that like likes to torment like these specific kids from Springwood.
Yeah. You don't remember that movie from the 80s where he goes into all those kindergartners' dreams and then he kills them?
Like, Freddy's going for some easy pickings, but like he could, if he really just wanted to go through and, really had a predilection for children, he doesn't.
Yeah.
And I don't even really know, like, I don't even know if Freddy, aside from like his kind of weird sexual tension with Nancy, I don't really even know Freddy's sexuality, honestly. I don't really care, but he's so complicated.
Yeah. He's a sadist and he's bored. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's totally bored. What's he doing? Just like sitting in people's nightmares, just waiting for people to be afraid again so he can come back to life and be ripped out of the dream. All right.
Moving on.
Man, we're getting meta. Okay, Justin, number 2.
My number 2 is Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, Dream Warriors. Okay. I think this has the best script out of all of them because I love the setup of this. It makes sense. You're getting all these different personalities, which can be more than one-dimensional characters, and there's a reason for them to all be together because they're in the psychiatric unit, and they're forced to co-opt this world together. And I also feel too like them being on this psychiatric ward feels pretty real for like surface level stuff. I mean, it works. Also, the kills in this movie are pretty sinister. The veins, where he's like hanging.
So bad.
And there's a suicide watch on these wards, and the woman who's a recovering drug addict, and he's like, she's got like puckering mouths on her arms, and he's like, his fingers are like heroin needles. I mean, it's
sick.
It's sinister stuff. I mean, it's like it's like you see how demented Freddy can get. I mean, he is really wanting to be his most sadistic. I think that the reason why those kill scenes work is because he's added this one-liner element, this humor element to the character, so that otherwise, man, these kills would be about as bleak as they come. I think that this movie has probably the best acting of all. It's like we got Lawrence Fishburne in here. It's like wild. Just, 2 or 3 years from Boys in the Hood. Mm-hmm. And then we have Patricia Arquette, really young Patricia Arquette, 2 or 3, 3 or 4 years from True Romance. And, creative kills. We've got the first, I think, song that was made for a movie where they incorporated the character in the music video with Dawkins, Dream Warriors. Yeah, this movie moves really quickly. It's really well directed. The effects are great. It almost makes my number 1.
I was kind of curious.
And we also too we're bringing back Wes Craven as a producer. And I think he, oversaw the story. A script co-written by Frank Darabont, who would go on to write and direct Shawshank Redemption, Green Mile, and The Mist. I mean, Chuck Russell, right before he did The Blob. Just really creative forces behind this movie. Bringing Nancy back, I thought it was a great way. I thought that a great way of bringing her back, bringing her dad back. Yeah. If I had one criticism of this movie, it's that freaking nun. Just say what's up.
Amanda Kruger?
Yeah.
Come
Amanda,
on.
Stop giving me a little nugget of a clue and then disappearing on me and then making me chase you around and then giving me another little nugget. Just, you're there.
Just tell me.
Just tell me we can get on with this. The way that they do it. It's always the part of the movie that frustrates me. It's like, just finish what you're going to tell.
She seems a little evil, honestly. Like you're like, what was going
it's the
on
only
with her?
but it's the only thing that kind of detracts the story a little bit. And again, I don't mind it that much, but it's my only real criticism of the movie is that them sort of like making it a mystery when if you're really worried about him, you should just tell the whole story right there, not keep disappearing.
Don't keep this already like non-believing doctor like guessing, scrounging around for clues.
And man, I really think Heather Langenkamp does I think this is like a strong performance here. I mean, of coming back and seeing Nancy as a stronger force, and she's like and it's a really great way to explain her coming back and saying like, you are the final remaining kids.
The Elm Street
kids. I think most people, this is like a fan favorite, so it's not shocking that this is so high up on my list.
There's a guy who I play softball against, and a couple times he wears a Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 cutoff. I've never told him how much I love that shirt, but
I also think
it is a fan favorite.
I also think this is the best that Freddy looks in any of the movies. The glove, the latex, I think this is like the best version of how he looks in the movie.
I'm not going to say it's not entertaining. I just am going to say that my number 2 is New Nightmare. That's I guess part 7. I know it might be shocking. A lot of reasons why I love New Nightmare. Now, I will just start off saying I identify with you, Justin, in the sense that it does feel like it is different than the rest of the franchise. But I like that aspect of it because it was, I think Freddy's Dead was an insane way to kill off Freddy. And in some ways, maybe Freddy should have died. But I think if we're going on the idea that Freddy should have died, that reinventing and coming up with New Nightmare and bringing Wes Craven back into the fold, this was a great way to do it. I love the mixing of reality and movie making. Honestly, when I start the movie and try to pretend like I've never seen it before, it's disorienting. You're like, what am I on a movie set? But like, what's going on? I love that disorienting feeling. While it is different than the rest of the movies, it still hits on a lot of the same themes. Like one of the biggest things we've already brought up was like parenting. But in this case, we have Heather Langenkamp as a parent, the woman who played Nancy in the original Nightmare on Elm Street. And she is an example of like a good parent, and it's her kid who is maybe now being possessed by Freddy. And, it's these doctors that are like, have you let this boy see your movies, which is playing on, what was going on in the 90s at that point. Like, is media affecting kids and violence and that sort of thing? I like that it does seem very timely for that moment. We still view, even though Heather Langenkamp is an adult, we are still viewing authority figures as not understanding and almost getting in the way of solving the problem. The whole idea of, is art imitating life or is life imitating art is a fun, just kind of like mind meld. And I think that it really messes with you too when things start to get twisted, and we have John Saxon, who played Nancy's dad, and he starts in the middle of a scene starts referring to Heather Langenkamp as Nancy, and your brain's like, wait, where am I? What's going on? What reality am I in? I like that I feel disoriented in the movie, but it's intentional. It's not because it's shittily written. As far as Freddy goes, try to imagine New Nightmare with the original Freddy, with Freddy as he is. For some reason, it just feels like it wouldn't work. So to make him almost superhuman and kind of like Tim Curry's Devil and Legend, built and like a German soldier or something, just like crazy, and how and like the cape, he is Freddy, but he's way more monstrous. And I think that that becomes even more validated if we're taking the movie reality of Nightmare on Elm Street and not making that reality, that New Nightmare is the reality, and that Freddy is not a work of fiction, but that he is like a demon, an actual like demon, that we understand like by the end of the movie, where we have Heather and her son battling in like the fiery pits of hell, which is also a crazy sequence. The whole finale is in like Freddy's hell world, from the beginning of it to when we get down there, the bed tunnel, where
Oh yeah.
it's so good.
Yeah.
Like, and it's so simple. It's just like this, you're just going down sheets, but it's also terrifying. I think bringing Freddy into daylight is also frightening too. After Heather's husband is killed by the claw coming up in the car and killing him that way, the funeral where she briefly loses it and daydreams that there's the earthquake and gets Freddy comes up through the coffin and sucks down she and her son. That's really terrifying to me. And it has to do with not only Freddy looking like a demon, but also Freddy being in daylight. I just think that it is really unique, cerebral, whatever you want to say, but it still calls back to, things like when Nancy got the gray streak, the same thing happens to Heather, or where Heather has the opportunity to say, screw your pass, like she does in the original. There are a lot of like winks back that I think a fan can appreciate, but also builds on the whole, like, kind of, I think it's a great bow on the top of like the entire series, because while Freddy's Dead maybe should have been the ending, if we're going to have one more, not counting the others, this one that kind of just is like above here while we deal with all this nightmare reality, and this is the next reality above that, perfect ending.
If you're going to make another movie after you stamped it Freddy's Dead, yeah, this is the way to go. Yeah. So that leaves us with our number one, which by process of elimination, now, listeners, that it is the OG Nightmare on Elm Street. I had a feeling, though, that we were both going to land on this for number one. I am kind of surprised at how we branched off with our rankings.
I really thought you were going to do Dream Warriors.
If you would ask me like 2 years ago, I would have said Dream Warriors. But watching all these together and in the context of when Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, came out, this movie is just wildly original. I mean, and if you think about where horror was, and like by 1984, I mean, we just had like 50 slasher movies, and I love a lot of those movies, but
Totally.
to take the element of a slasher movie and sort of the final girl and all this, but then to add this wild element of like someone who can get you in your dreams. And I also think it's very genius because even the most toughest person on the planet who's just like, oh, horror movies don't scare me and nothing scares me, I'm not afraid of anything, that person will wake up terrified from like a horrific nightmare, because nightmares, stuff can happen that's just like, really taps into your psyche, and it's like you're thinking about stuff, if you're stressed out about something. I mean, there's a connection there. I don't think that dreams and nightmares are just like unconnected. I don't think that they're just minutia that's floating around in our brain when we're sleeping. I mean, if I'm stressing about something, I'll have a nightmare where I'm back in college trying to find my class where there's going to be a test, and I realize I haven't been there in 3 months, and I can't even find out where the room is, much less like take a test on, so it's like, and it'll be, and I'll be stressing about something with job, and I'll have a dream like that. So it's like there's something very genius about taking that idea and then also having it be this villain who they build an origin story in this, and then also that person, if you die in your dreams, you die in reality. That's also terrifying, and it's wild because we, up until this movie, probably anybody would say, well, the best way is to die peacefully in your sleep, and this idea that these kids are fighting to stay up, it's like, I can't fall asleep. And then the kills, I mean, the rewatching this, the bedroom kill of Tina just the way they, they
Terrifying.
rotated the room, just the technique, and then it's just absolutely brutal and terrifying. And then the body bag being dragged out. I mean, still watching this by myself
scary.
with the lights off is a creepy scene. The music to this too, the score isn't that sort of like psycho, like, oh, something's coming. This score takes its time. It's like those long drawn out synths, and it slowly builds, and it's melodic, but it's not real fast like staccato. It's not real fast like Exorcist. And then also it had that sort of like drawn out sound of like how Freddy's claws, like it kind of mixed in with his claws sound, and very atmospheric. And just thinking, I mean, this was like just over $1 million budget. What this movie pulls off with such a small budget and creating a true villain, like and if anything, this movie, when I rewatch it, the acting it's not terrible, but it's like, it's very like low budget, but then again, you get, much like how we have like Jamie Lee Curtis now, it's like you get Johnny Depp in his first movie. It just that sort of goes in with that tradition of like some breakout actor who becomes like huge. And this is you see them when they're just trying to figure out how to, get through a scene. Also too, the kill with Johnny Depp is like another one where
epic.
It just, there's still like been very few movies that have, someone gets sucked into their bed and then blood is just painting the wall. It's terrifying and visually disturbing. I can see why this movie was just like so shocking when it first came out. And then, to see where the franchise went from this very first movie, just to see how far that they stretch things. Because when you compare it to other franchises that have gone on to make 7 or 8s, this one to me has gotten the most creative. It's like Nightmare. Friday the 13th. I mean, we're still doing the same stuff in part 6 as they were in part 1, except for them making it a little more humorous. I mean, I don't know that Texas Chainsaw Massacre outside of part 2 has ever broken free from like kind of redoing that element. Just a whole new concept on how you can make a horror movie and have it be entertaining, scary, but also like still somehow work in that slasher element of like, it's a movie about a guy who's killing people, but like in a whole new way.
I mean, Justin, you kind of like summed it up perfectly in all of that. I think that this is easily like the one that I want to show people. If you're like, I want to try a horror movie, but not too scary, not too bloody. It's like, well, I mean, yeah, there's definitely blood in this one, but what's the most haunting to me is like the entire feel of the whole movie. Like once we start to realize that these kids are having connected nightmares, it immediately sets the tone that something ain't right. It is still very visceral. It is the beginning of the whole idea of like the murder of innocence that goes on throughout the series. And I forgot to say this when talking about New Nightmare, that I love that Wes Craven wanted to revisit the idea of like how Tina was killed when Julie the babysitter in New Nightmare is killed. Both of those instances, Julie in New Nightmare, that murder scene is awful. It's, I mean, awful in a great creative way, in the same way that Tina's is. But it is interesting to me that in Tina's death sequence in the original, we don't see Freddy, and we see just what's happening to Tina's body, which is, I mean, I think it's really easy in the first one. Maybe it's the production value. Maybe it's just how it's framed. It is very easy to put yourself in that movie and just like imagining seeing your girlfriend like dragged across like the entire like room, and he is able to recreate that in New Nightmare with Julie's death sequence, except we see Freddy in this, so it's like he elevated it, doing the same exact thing, with probably way less problems that happened with rotating the room with that effect, but still creating the same horrific feel that worked so well in the beginning. Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street, easily the original. It is very easy to see why New Line Cinema was then referred to as the house that Freddy built. You can say the acting, you can say the production value, you can whatever. it's still like one of the most perfect horror movies.
And out of the entire franchise, it has maybe unintentionally funny line. Maybe it was unintentional, maybe not.
What?
But what cracks me up every time
I'm your
is
boyfriend now.
No, is it's Heather Langenkamp. I mean, Nancy's supposed to be like 15 in this movie.
Yeah.
And, she's been staying, she clearly does not look 15, but then she's like, staying up, trying to stay up. And, so she's starting to look all haggard in the scene where she looks in the mirror and she goes, "Oh my God, I look 20 years old." Cracks me up every time.
It's so good. It really is good. As an older person now watching this movie, I really identify. And I mean, I'll out myself. I take caffeine pills every day just to keep going. I would be lying if I didn't say I think of Nightmare on Elm Street at least a couple times a week every time I pop those.
You look in the mirror, you're like, "Oh my God, I look 33 years old."
I look 20 years. She's so serious.
I know, it's like 20 years old.
20 years old.
Yeah. I just wonder if like it's like 15-year-olds are just like, "Oh my God." Look at that 20-year-old,
like.
just like the haggard.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Just like a bunch of 20-year-olds walking around, bags under their eyes.
Poor Nancy.
Leathery skin.
She does look haggard though.
Yeah.
They do a real good job of that.
Yeah. Well, that's our rankings. I do urge you, if you haven't heard our episode on the original Nightmare on Elm Street, if you're finished with this ranking and you enjoyed it, we do a deep dive into the original. I mean, deep dive, like on the making, behind the scenes, everything. That was a fun episode to make, and I enjoy re-listening to that one too.
Yeah, that was like one of our really early. I think was that like our first Halloween.
Yeah.
Season, yeah. But that was, I remember doing that episode and being like so excited and like still loving the way that it turned out. And that was like, I think it was like episode 14, if I can remember that correctly.
Well, that wraps it up for this episode. I just wanted to say again that we've missed everybody. We're happy to be back. Just a reminder that we won't actually have more episodes until the next year, but we wanted to do something special for our favorite time. We're still picking ourselves back up, and trying to reevaluate life and all its challenges, but we don't want to stop doing the podcast. So this is just a reminder that we're still around and we're still wanting to put out well-produced and fun episodes for you to listen to.
Yeah, like we said before, this past year has been super rough. But in coming back and doing this, it is something that is grounding and like kind of a release, and it's nice to sit down and do this with my bestie over here. So Justin, it's great to be back behind the mic with you.
It feels like a good step forward for the new year coming up.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, until next time, I'm Justin Johnson.
And I'm Lindsay Reber.
Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you, guys.